Well, hello everybody. Welcome to a different edition of Strat-O-Matic. This is July 4th, so wanted to try something different. I'd gotten some feedback on some of these Game of the Week videos with Strat-O-Matic that with all the peripherals and the lineups and everything that I needed to show or wanted to show, that the phone was so far up in the air that it was hard to see the cards because Strat-O-Matic print is somewhat smaller than the other games. So today I'm going to try going back to old school, about as bare bones as you can get. No accoutrements whatsoever, just the cards, the dice, and the score sheet. And I even went to an old Strat-O-Matic score sheet from the company, not using my own, so I'm trying to go as bare bones as possible. The game I chose to play, not that there's any significance to it, this is not a replay or anything like this, this is a one-off. It is the 1988 World Series Game 1 between the A's and the Dodgers from Los Angeles. Starting pitchers Tim Belcher for the Dodgers and Dave Stewart for the Oakland A's. There are your starting lineups for each team. You got Carney Lansford at third, Henderson in center, Canseco in right, Parker in left, McGuire at first, Steinbach catching, Hubbard second, Weiss at short, and Stewart the pitcher. When we get to chances for relief pitchers or pinch hitters for each team, I will, before I make my first decision, I will show everybody that's available, and then you can see where I'm making my decision from. For the Dodgers, it's Sachs at second, Stubbs at first, Hatcher in left, Marshall in right, Shelby in center, Scioscia catching, Hamilton at third, Griffin at short, and Belcher the pitcher. And there are the defensive ratings. Ballpark effects for Dodger Stadium. I didn't do weather, I just did generic effects, and actually I didn't have it for 88. I used the 1989 effects, which I figure are going to be close enough. 1 to 9 for singles for both lefties and righties, and 1 to 4 for homers, both lefties and righties. So Dodger Stadium naturally is a pitcher's park. Now for the pitcher-catcher interface, because this is still super advanced, I'm not lowering anything in that area, we're keeping the full effects of super advanced. -2 for Dave Stewart when he's on the mound, because Stewart is a -1 hold and Steinbach is a -1 arm, so for a net -2. Belcher, when he's on the mound for the Dodgers, it's also -2, but he's a 0, but Scioscia is a -2 arm. So -2 on both of the things there. Now the only super advanced rule I'm not going to be doing, because the cards aren't, these are 1988 cards, and these are the original 1988 cards, so they haven't been updated. But if you notice here on Belcher and Stewart's card, there's a lot of blank area up here where you would normally have balk and wild pitch ratings, but in this case we're not going to do that. So we're not going to be doing the havoc roll before every pitch, because we're not worried about these things here. The only time we do the roll before a pitch is if we're trying to get a lead to steal. That's still going to be the same. The super advanced stealing has not changed. The only thing that's going to change is that havoc roll where you're checking for the balk or wild pitch or pass ball. That's going to be taken out of play. Still get those on the X charts, but not in the havoc rolls. All right, so we got Tim Belcher. He is the starting pitcher. The leadoff man for the A's is Carney Lansford. I do have Los Angeles colored dice, at least the best I can get, or what I thought would be the closest to get. So I'm going to look through here and make sure there's not too much light. I don't want too much glare on here. I think that's appropriate. I'm looking down through my phone and I can see the results on the player cards pretty clearly, so hopefully you guys can too. So we will see. I also am not using my headset. I am actually using this little microphone here, because the little clip on my headset, the little adapter that I use to go into the Android phone, broke off. I've got more order. They're supposed to come tomorrow from Amazon, but I don't have anything now, so I'm going back to this because I at least have the adapter on this to go into my Android phone for audio purposes, because as well as video, audio is one of the more important things in the video. Now I do have the humming in the background. That is my air conditioner that's up here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off now, because I've already kind of pre-cooled the room a little bit with that air conditioner. If I need it on later, I mean, it's supposed to be near 100 degrees today, And it's right now, I think it's about 10:30 in the morning on July 4th. So hopefully the heat hasn't gotten upstairs here yet, but we shall see. I don't know what studio this is. I hear people all the time saying studio A, B, C, whatever. This is just my little room to do my hobby. So whatever you want to call it, I don't know. Tabby's downstairs. She doesn't want to come up here today, so we will be feline free. At least it seems that way. So we're ready to go. And let's see, I've got to figure out what I'm going to do for when we get to the lower, once we get into the upper innings. I'm going to have to figure out some other kind of way. I think when the, let's see if that's, yeah, I can still fit that. So when the A's are batting, I'm going to have the things right here, and when the Dodgers are batting, it's going to be probably split like this, so I can have room for the score sheet. But for now, we can do it this way, and it still shows everything. So that way, because if I go too far this way, you're going to lose the right edge of the cards. All right, so like I said, this is a total one-off where I'm trying something new. So if it doesn't work, blame experimentation, I guess. I don't know. All right, so the first order of business, I don't need to roll the D20 in advance if I don't want to, but I will anyway, just to try to save in case we get to a split chance I want to re-roll. So Belcher to Lansford. And we get a 6-8 right-handed. 6-8 is a strikeout. So Lansford out on strikes for out number 1. And that's going to bring up Hendu, Dave Henderson. Henderson is your batter. And we get a 4-9 against a right-hander. That's a fly to left field. That's out number 2. And that'll bring up Mr. 40-40 himself, Jose Canseco. He of the 42 home runs. Doesn't have steals listed, but he did have the 42 home runs, and I don't know how many steals he had. I think he had 40 or 41 steals or something like that. I don't remember. But Mr. 40-40 himself. And that's a 6-8. So again, we're off our Belcher, and it's another strikeout. So that Belcher got all 3 results off of his card, and as a result, Oakland had no chance. So 1, 2, 3 go the A's here in the bottom or top of the first. Now we go to the bottom of the first, and it'll be Steve Sachs. Steve Sachs will be in there against Dave Stewart. Righty on righty matchup. 5-6, again, we're off the pitcher card, and it's a strikeout. So batters have not had a chance yet. It's been all pitcher cards. And that will bring up Franklin Stubbs, first baseman. 3-5, we're finally off the batter card. 3-5, and it's a ballpark blast home run, but it's only 1-4. That's a 6, so it's just going to be a deep fly to right field. Canseco will haul it in at the track for out number 2. I probably could have used newer cards that weren't as yellowish, because I got these from Moonlight Graham a long time ago used. So they are a little bit old and a little yellowy, but I figured if they show up okay here, then the newer cards will definitely show up better. So I figured I'd use one of the worst cards I had, and if these show up okay, then that would kind of give the green light for everything else. That's the reason why I chose this particular season. Stewart, we get a 3-9 for Hatcher, and that's a ground ball to short. So an easy 1, 2, 3 inning for both teams, and nothing going on for either side here in the first. So now we will go to the second, and leading things off for the Oakland A's will be Dave Parker, left field. Usually a DH, but there's no DH in this game, so he's forced to play the outfield. We get a 2-7 for Parker, and that's a single to left field. So how about that? First hit of the game. It is a single for Dave Parker. Now, he is no threat to run. He will not even be held, so there's no worry there. And here comes Mark McGwire. Dodgers looking to turn 2. We get a 6-7, and that's a ground ball second base X, but with nobody being held, the second baseman Sachs will keep his normal routine of a 3-E-15. So we go to 3-E-15 for Steve Sachs. We get a 3 and a 9. So on Steve Sachs, second base, bring the chart out, second base, a 3 and a 9 is a G3. So the runner's going to advance. And the total here is a total of 14. He is an E9. I'm sorry, not an E9. He is an E15. E15, and there's a 14 right here. So it's an E1 on Steve Sachs. So one base error on Sachs, E4. And that's going to put runners at first and second with nobody out. And that's not what Belcher needed. He needed good defense. Could have been a double play, but ends up being an error instead. Make sure putting that chart out there did not blur anything. It doesn't look like it did. So now first and second, nobody out, nobody being held, of course, obviously. And here's Steinbach. 2-4 for Steinbach. That's a ballpark single check. 1-9. That's a 5, so it will be a single. And the bases are loaded with nobody out. Bases are loaded, no one out for Glenn Mother Hubbard. The only thing that's going to help Belcher is they're getting to the bottom of the order, and that might help them out a bit. So they're going to play the infield back for a double play. They'd like to turn 2 here. 5-2. That's a ground ball pitcher B. And with the infield back, we'll go to, I believe it's just a runner out at second base, but we'll see. I'll bring the chart in. Super advanced, infield back, ground ball B with the bases loaded is a 4. 4 says batter safe, runner out at first, going to second for a forced play. Everybody else advances. Had I had the infield in, they would have got the force at the plate, but I was trying for the double play. And that's just the way it works out. So it's a fielder's choice. They're going to get Steinbach out 1-4. Scoring is Parker. Going to third is McGuire. So now McGuire is at third. Hubbard is at first. Runner is at the corners. 1 out for Walt Weiss. And Hubbard, I don't believe, is even going to be held. No, he's not going to be held. He's not a very good base stealer. They're not going to hold him. So, again, looking for the double play. 6-4 against the switch hitting Weiss. As a ground ball third base X, that is Hamilton. He's a 2E27. So a 2E27 for Hamilton. 2 and a 10. 2 and a 10 on the X chart. 2 and a 10 is a G1. That's a possible double play. That's a 5. That's a rare play. It's a rare play on a G1. So we go over to G1 and look at the rare play. If there's a run on first, the batter hits a ground ball by the fielder who starts a double play. The runner on first breaks up the double play, but the umpire rules interference occurred, goes into book as a double play. So basically, a double play stands. It's going to go 5-4-3. Double play to end the inning, but the run does score earlier on, and the Dodgers get out of the inning, only allowing the 1 run. So we go to the bottom of the second. It is 1-0 Oakland. And leading off for the Dodgers will be Mike Marshall. As Stewart faces Marshall. And I hope this is coming through okay. I can't really tell until I record it. That's the only thing about it. Recording, you can't go back and check it like you can on live. I can't see it on the screen like you guys can right now in live time. So we're just going to see what happens. Stewart, 3-10 to Marshall is a hit by pitch. So he plunks Marshall. He plunks Marshall to lead off the inning. And my penmanship is not the best, I will admit it. Marshall, not a threat to run. He will not be held. Here's John Shelby. 6-5. And against a left-hander, that's a fly to left field, 1 away. So 1 down, and that brings up Mike Scioscia. Stewart to Scioscia, 5-4. That's ground ball third base X. That's Carney Lansford, and he is a 2E8. So possible double play chances here on a 2E8. 2 and a 10, I believe that's a G1 that we just had, and it is. And then this is a total of 12, and he is an E8. So we go to third base, E8, and there's no 12. There's a 3, 15, 16, 17, and 18, but no 12. So it's a G1, and that will be a 5-4-3 around the horn double play to end the inning. Pitcher's best friend takes care of that, and at the end of 2, it's Oakland 1 and the Dodgers nothing. And now I'm going to look again since I accidentally hit the let's do it this way. Since I accidentally hit the scorebook, I'm gonna make sure nothing got out of whack here. I don't think it did. I think we're still okay on that. All right, so Tim Belcher facing Dave Stewart. Obviously, pitcher rating card number 1 because they had DH all year. So, and I didn't just make that up. That they actually have 1 on his card, so it is official. We get a 6-8 though. It's off Belcher. 6-8 is a strikeout, so it didn't matter at this point. It is a strikeout to start the 3rd. So Belcher strikes out Stewart to start the inning, and now we have Carney Lansford, the batter. We get a 3-11 for Lansford. It's ground ball to short. So easy play for Alfredo Griffin for out number 2. And that brings up Hindu, Dave Henderson. We get a 6-8 against Belcher, and that's a strikeout again. So Belcher with the K. It's a 1-2-3 inning, and we go to the bottom of the 3rd. And I'll still do my recap after 3 innings, like I had started to do here recently. My score sheet recap after 3 innings, just so everyone is on the same page. All right, Dave Stewart facing Jeff Hamilton. Hamilton, the 3rd baseman. We get a 4-10 for Stewart against a right-hander. That's a 1-11 for a triple. 12-20 is a double. That's a 16. That'll be a leadoff double for Jeff Hamilton. So he's aboard with a leadoff double. He's not going to be held. He doesn't run well. And Alfredo Griffin, the shortstop, is your batter. 2-4, and it's a fly ball center field B question mark. So it's a fly to center for out number 1. Now the B question mark, for those that maybe aren't up on all the rules, B question marks can be a little tricky if you're not familiar with the B question marks. So I will go to the rules. When in doubt, go to the rules under the B question mark. And we'll look under super advanced B question mark. And it says, if you use the chart titled Super Advanced Cutoff Computational, it does not read the following. Okay, I'm not using that. So, use the advanced rules above with this addition. If the runner is at 3rd base and at least one more runner on base with the B question mark reading occurs, if the offense decides to send the runner home, the defense has the option of cutting the throw. That's not in vogue here. So, let's see here. So, calculate the lead trail runner's chances. Let's see here, but does it say you can go from 2nd to 3rd? I thought this was only for right field. Let's see here. This rule does not apply to fly ball B question mark readings from cards or F2 readings from Super Advanced chart. Super Advanced chart comes okay. All right, so it does not apply for fly ball B question mark according to this. If I'm looking at this correctly, I haven't had this rule come up in a while, so it's going to take me a second to re-engage. But I'm pretty sure that the B question mark of the runner on 2nd doesn't have any bearing. I think the run with the fly ball to center field, I think it has to go to right field in order for it to take effect. And on the 2-4 for Hamilton, I'm sorry, for the 2-4 for Griffin, it was a fly ball center. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that has no effect, and we'll just hold on to what we have. And Tim Belcher is your batter. Using pitcher hitting card number 6, he was a really good hitting pitcher, apparently. So with 1 out, the runner is still at 2nd. There's been no, extra advance or anything. And they're not going to bunt with the runner already in scoring position. Belcher's a decent hitter. They're going to swing away. 4-3, it's off Stewart's card anyway. 4-3 is a ground ball pitcher X. He's a 2E27 because there's no number here for range, but it's assumed to be a 2 when that's the case. That's the way it was when it was in advanced. So this is a 2E27. I'm sure super advanced, if they updated it or if it's on the computer, it would probably be different. But it's a 2E27. So that's what we're going with. It's a 2E27 for the pitcher. 2 and a 20. Obviously, he'll get to that. With the pitcher, a 2 and a 20 is a G1. That's a 4, and he's an E27. You see here there is no 4. There's a 3, but nothing else. All the other numbers are big. So it's simply a G2 with a runner on second base. So we go over here to G2, runner on second, and it says with the infield normal, we go to right. So we come over here to where it says right. Let's bring it over all the way to where it says right. It's ball hit to first or second base, batters out, runner advance. Ball to shortstop, pitcher or catcher, C, decide. All right, lead runner can attempt to advance. Well, with one out, they're not going to make the third out at third base, so they're going to just hold the runner there. It's just a ground out, and they freeze the runner for out number 2. And now that'll bring up Steve Sachs. So Sachs is your batter. I'll make sure I didn't lose any focus with that stuff going in front of the phone with those charts. So I almost feel like it's too bright on here. Maybe it isn't, but it just seems that way. And again, I won't know until I actually look at it later on. But anyway, here we go. Stewart against Sachs with the runner. Hamilton still at second and 2 outs. We get a 6-9 on Stewart's card, and that is a single to left field. That's a chance to score the run. Let's look at Hamilton. He was not being held. Hamilton runs at an 11. He's not being held, makes him a 12. There are 2 outs, makes it a 14. So he's got a 1 to 14 chance, but then you have to figure out the outfielder arm. And unfortunately, he went to left field. Parker is a outfield arm of +1. So now we've calculated again to be a 15, because it's 1 to 11 with not being held as a 12. 2 outs makes it a 14. And then the +1 arm makes it a 15. So it's a 1 to 15. But if they throw through, then Sachs has a chance to get second base, or is supposed to get. I don't play it that way by house rule, but I'm going to play this by the rules of the Strat-O-Matic. So they have to decide: do they try to throw the runner out, or do they keep Steve Sachs at first base and not let him take the extra base on a 1 to 15? Boy, it's a gamble. 1 to 15. There are 2 outs. I'm thinking that the A's are going to just allow the run to score because they want to keep Sachs at first base. They don't want him in scoring position with 2 outs, although he might get there anyway on the steal, but we shall see. Now, speaking of stealing, Steve Sachs has a chance to get the lead. 2 through 5 or an 11, he gets the lead. A 2 through 5 or an 11. That's a 5, he gets the lead. So he's a 19. Being held makes him a 17. And then the -2 makes him a 15. So it's a 1 to 15 for Steve Sachs to steal second base. And he's in there right on the dot. The tag was applied by the shortstop Weiss, but umpire says that Sachs got his hand in there as he went head first. Got his hand in there, and Weiss not happy about it, but it's going to stand as a stolen base. So here's Franklin Stubbs. Sachs will be held at second base. Stewart to Stubbs. 1-2 is a hit by pitch plus injury. I'm not going to do injuries because I don't feel like doing injuries in this thing. We're just going to keep it as it is. It's a hit by pitch. That's the second hit by pitch in the game. Stewart already plunked Marshall. Now the umpire is coming out and warning Stewart to cool it. Don't want any more hit by pitches around here. Here's Mickey Hatcher, left fielder. 6-2, and that's a fly ball C, but it's the third out, so it doesn't matter anyway. It's a fly out to center field as Henderson puts it away. But the Dodgers score the run to tie the game, and after 3 complete, we are sitting at a 1-1 tie. And as we look over the score sheet, you can see in the first inning, nothing happened. Second inning, the A's got their run. All started on a Parker hit, and then an E4 on Sachs allowed them to keep going. Parker was going to make second anyway because it was a ground ball C. He would have gotten second anyway, but still the error kept the inning going. Steinbach singled him to third, or singled to load the bases, I should say. And then Hubbard a fielder's choice 5-4. The run is earned because this out here was not the third out, and he would have been on these bases anyway. So the run is actually earned. And then Weiss hit into a 5-4-3 double play to end the inning. Then nothing happened for the Dodgers in the second. Nothing happened for the A's in the third. In the bottom of the third for the Dodgers, Hamilton leads off with a double after Griffin flies to center and Belcher grounds to Stewart. Then Steve Sachs hits the RBI single. He steals second. After hit by pitch, Hatcher flies out, and we are tied at 1 going to the 4th inning. So there is your 3rd inning recap. So now hopefully, all right, so that's about as, I gotta measure and see how far I can go. We can go to the triples here, so I don't want to put anything past the triples because then you lose some of that. So Jose Canseco is your batter for the Oakland A's. He'll be facing Belcher. It'll be Canseco, Parker, and McGuire here in the 4th. 1-6 for Canseco. That's a 1-17 home run. That's a 14. It is long, and it is juiced, and it is gone. Jose, can you see Canseco? A solo blast, and the A's are back out in front. My penmanship is horrible, but the A's are back out in front 2-1. It was a blast. Look at it again. 1-6, split chance. 1-17 is a homer. That's a 14. So pretty good chance it was going to be gone, and it was. So it's a 2-1 ball game in favor of the Oakland A's. And now that'll bring up Dave Parker. Belcher, 1-5 to Parker. Is a ground ball to second. Sachs will handle it. 1 away. And we go to Mark McGuire, the other Bash brother. .38 for McGuire is a 1-10 single. 11-20 lines to short. That's a 12. So he's going to line it to Alfredo Griffin for out number 2. So 2 down for Terry Steinbach. Steinbach singled his first time up. 5-9 is a ground ball to second. And that's going to end the inning. But damage done on the home run from Canseco. And the Oakland A's take a 2-1 lead on the Dodgers. Now we go to the let's put it right here, I guess, maybe. We go to the bottom of the 4th for Mike Marshall. Stewart to Marshall. 3-7 for Marshall is a strikeout. So Marshall out on strikes. That'll bring up John T-Bone Shelby. The T-Bone. 3-4, and that's a ground ball to short. 2 down, and that's going to bring up Sosha. I'll move it over here, I guess, to keep the score sheet viable. So here is Sosha. Stewart, all we need against Sosha is his blue side. We don't need his red side against Sosha. And Sosha, we need his red side against Stewart. 5-2, ground ball first base C. So we say McGuire fields it, flips to Stewart covering to end the inning. So 4 innings are in the books. 2-1 Oakland still holds on to this lead. Belcher has fatigue of 6, and Stewart has fatigue of 7. So they're still, okay on that front. And let's see here. We got Glenn Mother Hubbard coming up against Belcher. We got a 5-10, and that's a catcher X. Sosha is a 1 with an E3. So it should not be a problem. A 1 and a 12 for a catcher. 1 and a 12 is a pop out. And then that's a 4, and he's an E3. So a 1 and a 12 is a pop out. Catcher is an E3. There is no 4 there. There's a 3, but no 4. So it's strictly going to be a pop out to Sosha for out number 1. So 1 away for Walt Weiss. Switch hitting shortstop. We get a 1-7 for Weiss against the righty, and he strikes him out. So Weiss out on strikes for out number 2. And that's going to bring up Stewart with his number 1 batting card. 2-5, and he will strike out to end the inning. So rather nondescript inning for the A's. They still maintain the 2-1 lead, though. And now Stewart back out. And he'll be facing Jeff Hamilton. Jeff Hamilton is your batter. It'll be Hamilton, Griffin, and Belcher, the bottom portion of the order. 5-9, and that is a fly to center field. Handled by Dave Henderson, one away. That'll bring up the switch hitting Alfredo Griffin. We get a 5-6 switch hitter batting left. 5-6 is a strikeout. So he strikes out Griffin for out number 2. It's going to bring up Belcher. We're in 1988, not 2024. So with 2 outs and the bases empty, Belcher's going to swing away. He is a pretty decent hitting pitcher. 5-8 for Stewart. That's a split chance on a fly ball to left field, but it turns to a split chance with a triangle. 1-3 is a single. 4-20 he lines out. So he's going to line out to short to end the inning. So 5 innings are in the books. Still 2-1 in favor of the Oakland A's. And now Belcher will be facing Carney Lansford. Now here's where I'm running into a little bit of problems because we're starting to move into where I can't see the rest of the score sheet. So I'm going to raise the phone up just a hair and see if we can't still fit this stuff in here but not block the score sheet. And I think we just did it. Okay, so we're just going to try it. Hopefully you still see the cards okay. Looks like even with my bad eyes, I can see them pretty decently. So we're going to go with it. So Carney Lansford, top of the 6th, leadoff man. 6-6 against Belcher, right-handed. 1-6 is a double. 7-20 is a single. That's a 2. It's a leadoff double for Carney Lansford. Carney Lansford with a leadoff double. He does run at a 16, so they will hold him on. And here's Hindu Dave Henderson. 3-8 for Henderson, and that is a 1-11 single. 12-20 he lines out. That's a 17. He is going to line out to short for out number 1. So Henderson is out, and that brings up Canseco. First base is open, so they're going to intentionally walk Canseco. Set up a double play for Dave Parker, even though it's lefty-righty. But Canseco homered last time. They don't want to go through that again. Parker is 1 for 2, a single and a ground out, but he grounded out last time. He's a double play candidate. We're going to see about doing that again. 5-5, but it's a ground ball second base C, and that's going to move the runners up. They will get the out, but the runners will move up to second and third, respectively. And that brings up Mark McGuire, and they could walk. And they're going to walk McGuire intentionally and take their chances with the bases loaded against Terry Steinbach. They did not want to face McGuire with 2 in scoring position. So they walk him intentionally, and they will pitch to Steinbach. Questionable move. 2 intentional walks in the same inning. But they're playing strategy. 6-11 for Belcher against a right-hander. Ground ball pitcher X, but he's an E0. The only thing, he's a 2 E0. So the only thing is about whether he gets to it or not. So a 2 and a 19, he's all over that. That's a G1. That's going to end the inning. So the strategy pays off as the intentional walks. And the intentional walks do not count against this point of weakness. The only thing counting against this point of weakness was the double. So the A's leave them loaded. And we'll see if that strategy indeed is going to pay off. Obviously, it looks like it did. And now we go to the bottom of the 6th. And it'll be the top of the order, Steve Sachs, followed by Stubbs and Hatcher. And again, we're getting close to running out of room here, so I may have to do something on the score sheet. Let's see. I might just have to move these guys over. Might just have to do this. Like I said, it's a work in progress. All right, here's Stewart. 6-6 against a right-hander is a strikeout. He's not tired yet, so obviously the strikeout will stand. There's 1 away. And that brings up Franklin Stubbs. He's 0 for 1 with a hit by pitch. Stewart. 1-7 for Stubbs, and he's going to strike out. So back-to-back strikeouts And it is a 2-1 ball game. Dodgers can't seem to get another run across the plate. Here's Mickey Hatcher. Oh, that's a Sua dice. We're going to re-roll that. 2-7 for Hatcher. He's going to ground to third, and that is Carney Lansford territory. And that's going to end the inning. So we completed 6 here at Dodger Stadium to score 2-1 A's. And we'll do our recap for innings 4, 5, and 6. Not anything happening. The only thing that really happened was the home run for Canseco leading off the top of the 4th. Dodgers have not reached anybody on base in these middle 3 innings. In fact, they're struck out 4 times. Big moment of the game, possibly, if the Dodgers come back and win, is the A's leaving the bases loaded. Those 2 intentional walks, at least initially, seem to have worked out, but remains to be seen if that stays the case. All right, so Belcher has 1 ding against this point of weakness because he gave up the double, but the intentional walks do not count against that point of weakness. So we're going to have Belcher against Hubbard. Start the 7th. Actually, I need to lower this a little bit here. Maybe we'll do them, well, we'll figure something out here. I'll just have to move it when I write my score sheet in there. Or write the result in, I should say. Here's Belcher, 1-3 to Hubbard, and that's a hit by pitch. You wonder if that's retaliation from the previous hit by pitches that Stewart hit 2 of the batters for Oakland. So you want the umpire is now giving a warning, next hit by pitch, and you're gone. So here's Walt Weiss. He's a B bunter, but Stewart is up next, so you're not going to pinch hit for Stewart, and you're not going to bunt Weiss with the pitcher coming up. So they're going to go ahead and let Weiss swing away, and Hubbard not being held. Belcher 4-8 against switch hitter batting left-handed is a 1-3 double, 4-20 fly out to right. That's a fly out to right, and there's 1 away. Now we have the pitcher Stewart coming up, who's obviously not a good hitter with a 1 there, using the pitcher hitting card number 1. They don't even give his bunt rating. I think generically you can use a C if you want, but they're just going to have him swing away. They don't want to get into a double play if they can avoid it. 6-2 is a ground ball shortstop X. That is Alfredo Griffin, so there's a chance that he might even reach here. Shortstop X Alfredo Griffin. He's a 1, though. 1E28. So you know he's going to get to it. 1-14 is going to be... 1-14 is a G1, so they're going to get a force play at second if there's no error. That's a 7, and he is an E28. E28, there's a 6, but no 7, so it will be a fielder's choice 6-4, we'll call it. Actually, no, I'm sorry, it's a 6-4-3 double play. There's only 1 out, so it is a 6-4-3 double play to end the inning. Maybe we should have had him bunt. But they're still up 2-1, so they're not worried about it. La Russa says keep going. So we go to the bottom of the 7th inning stretch, but again, no accoutrements, no music, no nothing. We're just going to keep rolling here, literally and figuratively. The only thing I want to do is check the focus. Since I put the chart in there, I want to make sure that didn't affect the focus, and I don't believe that it did. Looks like it's still okay. All right, so Mike Marshall, Shelby, and Socha do up against Stewart, and this is his weakness inning. 5-5 against a right-hander is a ground ball to second, so that's 1 away. Marshall is retired, and that will bring up John T-Bone Shelby. 1-11 for Shelby. That's a ballpark single check. 1-9. That's a 19, though, so it's a liner to second base for out number 2, and that's going to bring up Mike Socha. We had a 3-5 for Socha, and he grounds it to first. Mark McGuire will step on the bag himself, and the inning is over. So it's still a 2-1 game as we go to the 8th inning. Dodger bullpen is active, as Belcher would come up next inning. So the Dodger bullpen is active, and that gives me a chance to show you who's in that Dodger bullpen that they can go to. These are the available arms in their bullpen. They have 1 left-hander, Jesse Orozco, the only lefty they have. Righties, they have Brian Holton. They have Tim Leary. They have Alejandro Pena, and they have their closer, Jay Howell. So those are the 5 arms available. Due up for the A's in their half of the eighth is the top of the order, Lansford, Henderson, Canseco, all righties. The only lefty is Parker, so they're looking pretty much for a right-handed reliever to come in. So Alejandro Pena has started light tossing in the Dodger bullpen. Alejandro Pena. Right now, though, it is Carney Lansford. He doubled in his last time up, but was stranded at third base. Belcher 3-3 as a fly ball to right field, and that's one away. So one down, and that's going to send up Dave Henderson. Henderson, 0 for 3, flew to left, struck out, and lined to short. 4-5, and that is a fly to center field, out number 2. And that'll bring up Canseco. He has struck out, hit a homer, and intentionally walked. So Canseco against Belcher. 5-7, and that is a ground ball shortstop X. We are looking at Alfredo Griffin again. He's a 1E28. Don't need the D20 roll because nobody's on base. He's a 1. You know he's going to get to it. We're just checking the E28. E28 and a 13 for a shortstop. E28 and a 13. There's a 15, 16, 17, and 18, but no 13. So Griffin will make the play to end the 8th inning. That's going to do it for Belcher. Belcher is finished because he is set to bat third this coming inning. So Belcher's day is done. He's going to go 8 innings, and let's see how many hits he's going to give up. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've only given up 4 hits according to this. Walks, well, 2 of them were intentional. He also hit a batter. But as far as conventional walks, he did not walk anyone conventionally. But the 2 were intentional. The earned runs, both runs he gave up were earned. Strikeouts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 strikeouts. So that is the line score for Belcher is 8 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. But he is on the hook to be the losing pitcher for the Dodgers unless they are able to rally. So now we go to the bottom of the 8th. Due up for the Dodgers. Again, it's Hamilton, Griffin, and a pinch hitter for Belcher. And since we're looking at pinch hitters, let's look at the Dodger bench to see who they have available from both sides of the plate. From the right-hand side of the plate, they have Tracy Woodson, Mike Sharperson, Dave Anderson, and Rick Dempsey. Those are from the right-hand side. From the left-hand side of the plate, they have Danny Heap, Mike Davis, and, of course, the infamous Kirk Gibson. So they may want to save Kirk Gibson for the 9th to do heroics with. Shall see. It's going to depend on who reaches, if anybody, as to who the pinch hitter is going to be. Because if there's 2 out spaces empty, that's going to change your decision versus people on base. So we go to the bottom of the 8th. And it is Hamilton that's going to lead it off against Stewart in a 2-1 ball game. Here in the bottom of the 8th. Stewart, 2-8 to Hamilton, fly to center, 1 away. So Hamilton is retired. And that's going to bring up Alfredo Griffin. He's flown to center and struck out. He's 0 for 2. Now, do they pinch hit for Griffin? He was a 199 hitter. I think they might want to pinch hit for Griffin. Try to get something going here in this 8th inning. So Griffin's going to be called back. We will pinch hit for Griffin, and Dave Anderson will come into play short. So let's see what they want to do here for LA. We're going to have a pinch hitter. So pinch hitting will be, let's see, Mike Davis, not a very good hitter. Heap, 242. They're going to go with Danny Heap. So Heap to pinch hit here in the 8th inning. That's Danny Heap. Danny Heap will pinch hit, and then Anderson will take over at short after that. So Anderson will take over as the shortstop. And again, Kirk Gibson is still waiting in the wings just in case. But right now it's Danny Heap hitting for Griffin against Stewart. 2-8, and that's a ground ball to short. for out number 2. So Heap is retired. And now we need a pinch hitter for Belcher. It's going to be Mike Davis. Or do you go with Gibson to try to tie it? I don't know. Because if you don't do it here, you're probably not going to. So they're going to go with Gibson. They're going to try to get magic in a bottle. And Kirk, or lightning in a bottle, I guess they call it. So Kirk Gibson pinch hitting here in the 8th against Dave Stewart with 2 outs and nobody on. Stewart has no effect to his fatigue right now, so he's in full board, good shape. But Gibson trying to strike something here, and we get a Sua dice. Stewart against Gibson. 2-8 for Gibson, and that's a single to center field. So Kirk Gibson with a single. And if we played like he did in the World Series, he would be injured and could hardly run. But in the regular season, he was very good running. He actually is listed as an A stealer in advance, and he's got a 19 if he gets the lead. So we're going to play it like, let's see, who would they? Actually, they could. Let's see, who do they got on the bench that can run? Do they have anybody else that can run? Not really. So we're going to leave Gibson in there. The question is, does he try to get the lead? Because on deck is Steve Sachs, who's a pretty decent hitter, 277. But if he gets in scoring position with 2 outs, that can make a huge difference. So they're going to see if Gibson can get the lead. He needs a 7 or an 11 to get the lead. If he doesn't get the 7 or the 11, it's a moot point. He doesn't get it, so it's a moot point. So he will stay at first. He will be held, but he won't go anywhere. And Steve Sachs is your batter. Now the Oakland bullpen is starting to kind of loosen up a little bit down there. And let's look at who the Oakland A's have in their bullpen that they can go to. They have 2 left-handers. They have Greg Cataray, and they have Rick Honeycutt. And right-handers, they have Eric Plunk, Todd Burns, Gene Nelson, and of course Dennis Eckersley. So that's the bullpen. Those are the bullpen icons that they have. And Rick Honeycutt, a lefty, is loosening the pen. In case Stewart does not get sacks, they may bring in Honeycutt to pitch to Stubbs. We'll see how that plays out. Sachs is at the bat with Gibson being held at first base. There are 2 outs here in the bottom of the 8th of a 2-1 game. 2-1 game, bottom of the... Actually, I forgot to write an Oakland 0 there. 2-1 game in the bottom of the 8th. 2 outs, runner at first base. And it's Gibson. Stewart 1-3 to Sachs. He's going to pop it up to third. And that's going to end the inning with Lansford hauling that in. Stewart's going to go 8 innings and pitch very, very well. And it looks like the Dennis Eckersley, is loosening the bullpen now. They're not going to worry about Honeycutt. They're going straight to Eckersley in the 9th. So they will go to Eckersley in the 9th, and Dave Stewart did his job in spades. Dave Anderson is your new shortstop for the Dodgers, taking over for the pinch hit for Griffin. And Anderson at shortstop is a 2E12. So it's a 2E12. So Anderson at short in the 9th. So 2E12 is his fielding rating. So the new pitcher for the Dodgers, we never did figure out who they're going to bring in. Coming up for the A's, it's Parker, McGuire, and Steinbach, 1 lefty and 2 righties. And so I think I'm going to stick with Alejandro Pena. He was 6-7 with a 191 ERA. It doesn't give the saves on these cards. So Alejandro Pena. This is going to be Eckersley. So Stewart, let's do Stewart's totals. He went 8 innings as well. And let's see how many hits he gave up. He gave up 1, 2, 3. I've only given up 3 hits and 1 run, which was earned. He did hit 2 batters. He did not walk anybody. So there were no traditional walks in this game. 2 intentional walks, but no regular walks. Strikeouts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got him for 5 strikeouts. So there's the line on Stewart. 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, no walks, 5 strikeouts. And, of course, he is in line to get the win. And that's if Eckersley can hold on. But now Pena is your new pitcher, and he'll be facing Dave Parker, Mark McGwire, and Terry Steinbach. So Parker is at the plate against Pena to start the top of the ninth. 1-7 for Parker is a strikeout. So Parker is out on strikes. One down for Mark McGwire. Pena to McGwire, 5-6, and that's a strikeout for Pena. So Pena gets the K on McGwire. He's out of there. And Terry Steinbach is your batter. There will be a new left fielder for Parker in the ninth. They need defense. They want the better defenders out there. So we'll go over the A's bench at the end of this inning. End of this half inning, I should say. 2-7 for Steinbach is a strikeout. So Pena comes in and strikes out the side in the top of the ninth. Can't do any better than that. Pena does it to strike out the side. All right, now for Oakland, we will have a new left fielder. Let's look at their bench. Of course, Don Baylor was like their DH. But from the right-hand side, they have Mike Gallego, an infielder. Two switch hitters, Tony Phillips and Stan Javier. And a couple of lefties, Luis Polonia and Ron Hassey, the backup catcher. So the guy who has the best fielding, obviously, is Stan Javier. He is a 1. As opposed to Parker, who's a 4 E16. He's a 1 E9. He does have a +1 arm, same as Parker. But the fielding rating is just really, really good. So that's who we're going to go with. We're going to go with Stan Javier. He's going to take over in left field in the ninth inning. Stan Javier. So Javier takes over in left field for Mr. Parker. Parker's day is done. So Javier will bat in the fourth spot. There's no double switches or anything going on because the A's feel like Eckersley just going to finish it off and there won't be any need for any of that stuff. So there's Eckersley. Again, in the 88 season, he was 4-2 with a 2.35 ERA, and I believe it was 45 saves, something like that. So Eckersley is on. He won't have to deal with Gibson. They've already used Gibson. But they are at the top of the order, close to it with Stubbs. So Stubbs will lead things off. He'll be followed by Hatcher and Marshall. Don't see any pinch hitters coming for the Dodgers because the players they have in there now are better than the guys on the bench. They've used their best bench guys basically already to try to score that run in the eighth. Here's Eckersley, 5-8 against Stubbs, and he struck him out. So Stubbs out on strikes against Eckersley, and that brings up Mickey Hatcher. Would they pinch hit for Hatcher? He's a 293 hitter. I don't think so. So Hatcher's going to stay in there, even though he's 0 for 3. 110, and that's a 1-13 single. Anything else he lines to short, that's a 17. So he lines to Walt Weiss for out number 2. And now it's down to, unfortunately for the Dodgers, it's down to Mike Marshall, who was 0 for 2. He did get hit by a pitch, but he's also struck out and grounded to second. Does have home run power, though. 6-9 against Eckersley. That's a split chance. It would have been a ground ball to second, but a split chance says 1-4 is a single. Anything else he lines out, that's a 3. So Mike Marshall gets himself a single. It's all because of that little triangle up there. Keeps the game going for John Shelby. T-Bone Shelby, 263 hitter. So T-Bone Shelby. And let's see if Marshall will be held at first base. Not really. He doesn't run well at all, so he will not be held. Eckersley to Shelby. Try to finish. Oops, and we get a Suidice right at the end there, don't we? Try it again. 1-9, and he struck him out, and that's the ball game. So Dennis Eckersley gets the save here in game 1. And like I said, it's not a replay. I'm just doing this for, demonstration purposes, so to speak. Eckersley, 1 inning, struck out 2. Did give up the hit. So for the A's, they get 2 runs. They do it on just 4 hits. And I don't believe there were any errors. The only error in the game was on sacks. So sacks made the only error for the Dodgers. Dodgers 1 run on 4 hits as well. So the winning pitcher was Dave Stewart. The losing pitcher was Belcher. The save goes to Eckersley. And so there you go. that's my experiment using the Strat-O-Matic score sheet and no accoutrements whatsoever, just the cards, the dice, and the score sheet. And hopefully everything came out okay. I won't know until everything is uploaded. Like I said, I did use these 1988 cards because they had a little bit of yellowing on them, and I figured if it shows up okay on these cards, it'll show up okay anywhere. And so that's why I wanted to do that. So we look at the final score pad and look at what, this is what we got right here. So there you are. Let me fix this focus. Maybe something got out of focus there. There we go. All right, so there we go. You see my penmanship is not the best, but I do what I can with what I got. I know some people like to use the, fill in this information. I really didn't care about doing that. I really only wanted to put the comments for pinch hitters and defensive replacements. And of course, I also used 88 because pitchers went a lot of innings. The starters did. If I tried to use a 2023 season with this pitcher bracket, where you only get 2 reliever spots, I'd be over here putting relievers. So I wanted to keep things, as neat as possible. Neat and my handwriting just don't go together, but that's just the way it was. So anyway, that's it. For those people who prefer this, I'd appreciate feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, so that going forward on the game of the week, if I get more information like this, or that people like this more than all the accoutrements, then I may just, for the game of the week, go to something more simple where you can actually see the cards better, the Strat-O-Matic cards better, and keep the meat and potatoes and keep the meat and keep the sizzle to the side. We shall see. But anyway, that's it. Hope you're having a good July 4th weekend. Well, some of us like me have to work tomorrow, but for those who have the 4-day weekend, hope you have a good holiday weekend. Stay safe out there with the fireworks. Enjoy the fireworks, but leave it to the professionals. Let them do that. And like I said, next video will be Saturday. It'll be the NBC game of the week. I might try to sneak in an inside pitch 1967 Orioles and Tigers game between then. I might record one of those later this evening or later this afternoon. Since I do have the day off, I might possibly do that. I'm not 100% sure. But one thing is for sure is Saturday will be the NBC game of the week. It'll be the Texas Rangers visiting the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm trying to get all these teams in the first half of the season to show them all. So these two have not made the video as of yet. So this is their first time doing that. It is the Rangers at the Brewers from County Stadium in Milwaukee. So, hope you enjoyed that presentation of Strat-O-Matic. And until next time, enjoy playing whatever game you choose to play, however you choose to play it, and I will see you all down the road.